Well, we have this breaking news just into CNN. Liberty Island in New York City is being evacuated now because of a person trying to climb the Statue of Liberty. You're looking at a live picture there now of the statue, and joining me live is CNN's Bryn Gingras from New York. Bryn, what are we learning from police? How far up the statue? Do we have any idea who this person is?
Yeah, Jim, this happened a little bit earlier today. There was actually a total of 8 people that were in protest at one point holding up a huge sign that said abolish ICE. It was a total of 8 people. 7 of those people are already under arrest. But now as you look at this video, you can see in the corner of that green section, the base of the Statue of Liberty is one person holding some sort of sign, and at a little bit lower than them, all those heads you see there, that is NYPD personnel. Specifically the emergency services unit. We have 3 different units, I'm told, on the scene, and those are those highly trained tactical units that are working to get that 8th person down, who we're told is a woman who was part of this protest. And I would imagine at this point, I'm trying to get this confirmed, I would imagine the hostage negotiation team would be a part of this. Those are the people that are skilled to sort of talk to people to get them to come down in situations like this, like a protest. So I wish I could answer to you, and we can find that out certainly, the base to where this person is, how far above ground we're talking here. But it's a pretty significant climb that this person has made already. Again, 7 people already climbed a bit of the Statue of Liberty in their protest, holding up this sign, and then this 8th person went even further. As you already mentioned, Jim, the Liberty Island has been evacuated. I mean, this is a huge section, of course, of the harbor here in New York City where the Statue of Liberty sits. Huge tourist area, especially when it's the 4th of July. So this is a big deal. We know there are harbor units as well right around the Statue of Liberty, but a lot of personnel there on the scene trying to get this 8th person either to come down or probably at this point trying to figure out how they're going to get up there and arrest this 8th person, Jim.
Bryn Gingras, thank you very much. And there you have it. This is a protest on July 4th at the Statue of Liberty, which with a poem which reads in part, "Give us your tired and poor," and that protest about immigration, ICE, family separation, etc. I want to bring in Phil Mudd, who, of course, worked in counterterrorism for the FBI and the CIA. You know New York City very well. How seriously would police and authorities approach a situation like this there, particularly on a holiday? A number of the members of the public would be visiting the statue as well.
Look, if you're a member of the public, you step back and say, this is a protest that fits in the context of what we've seen in the United States for the past week or two. As a counterterrorism professional, you can't make that assumption. Assumptions will kill you. Right. There's a couple of characteristics you look at in this case. We have not only one person, multiple people. The first is an immediate question. What do they have on their persons? What do they bring onto the island? Do they bring anything on that's a threat to the people around the island? Obviously, you have a question about when you're going to get access to the person up on the monument. Are there other individuals beyond the immediate circle who are involved in this? And then there's a secondary question. I'm sure the investigators will spend the afternoon taking off July 4th to investigate intent. What were they trying to do? How can we reassure ourselves of one of the toughest things in the intelligence business, that is the negative? How can we be guaranteed that they didn't intend to do harm to anybody? So it looks like a protest. I, as now a member of the public for the past 8 years, would say it's a protest. You can't make that assumption if you're an investigator.
If you're just joining us now, you're looking at live pictures of the Statue of Liberty in New York. The lower portion there's a wider shot. Liberty Island has been closed down. A number of people, it appears, have climbed the base of the statue on this July 4th. Our reporter in New York saying that it appears to be a protest related to ICE, immigration, etc. But Phil Mudd, our CNN terrorism and national security analyst, you're saying that the authorities are not going to eliminate any possibility here. They want to have an abundance of caution to make sure there aren't any other ill intents.
Sure. I mean, in the 17 years post 9/11, I realize this has no sort of bearing on post 9/11. It doesn't look like a terrorist attack. You go into these situations saying, how can we be reassured that the individuals involved in this don't have something like a backpack device? I doubt they do. But again, there's a big difference between what you think and what you know. Being reassured over the course of hours that there's nothing they carried onto that island that doesn't threaten an individual, that's tough to do. And in the meantime, you can't look around and say, we're just going to take a risk that these people are benign, that they say they're benign. In the meantime, you've got to disrupt the vacation plans of all the people on the island and say, we've got to figure out what we've got our hands on here. It's going to take a little while.
Well, We should say that it is our information at this point. No evidence of terrorism, but of course necessary to exercise an abundance of caution there. Thanks very much to Phil Mudd. We're going to keep an eye on this breaking news story that's developing right now. And as we do, you can see there now what appears to be one of the protesters, and I believe on the left there, a police officer who's climbed up. You can see the ladder there on the left that the officer appears to have used. One of the protesters there kind of sitting, looking kind of relaxed, like they're not in any sort of rush to get off there. Bryn Gingras joining us back again from New York. You're learning new details.
Yeah, Jim, I'm learning from sources there who are familiar with this situation, with the scene, that what officers have to do is build a rope rescue system. So they're not going to wait to try to coax this person down at this point. They're actually going to build some sort of system that will get officers to their level and then make that arrest. And then what I'm learning is after that arrest is made or after they are detained, so you're seeing those officers sort of build this contraption. I know it looks like a ladder, but you see this other officer that's sort of at the base there at the green point. This is like, I guess, the rope rescue system that they're going to have to build to actually put this person in custody. And then what they'll do typically is almost piggyback them or have them in handcuffs and lead them down safely. What I'm told then from there is this person will be taken on a boat. As I told you, Hudson, or the water unit, harbor unit of the NYPD is there. They're going to put this person on that boat and bring them directly to most likely the Staten Island Ferry terminal on the Manhattan side to put them under arrest.
Okay.
So you can see
Bryn,
this person. Yeah, go ahead.
Bryn, as we're watching here, it is one protester who's there. I know there was some talk of maybe there were multiple. To our knowledge, there's one person, and the initial indications are that this is a protest. How do we know that?
Well, earlier today, about 3:15 is when NYPD got this initial call. There was a total of 8 protesters who were holding up a sign that said "Abolish ICE."
Okay.
7 arrests were made. This one other person climbed further. So that's who officers are worried about getting at this point down to safety and then making the 8th arrest. So there was a total of 8, but this is the final one that they have to put under arrest once they safely can get to her.
I get it. So you're seeing there, in effect, as Bryn was explaining, the final remaining protester, there were a number there before. They released a banner talking about abolishing ICE, that is the immigration service that's been so involved in these immigration issues, arrests, deportations, etc. Now the police, they're setting up a device to safely get the final protester down. We're going to keep an eye on this story going forward. I'll just go back to Phil now. So based on what we heard there, so you've got a final protester, it appears, and it seems like the focus now, Phil, is getting that person off there safely, right? Especially if they don't want to come down.
Not quite yet. There's a couple focuses here. I'm not going to assume that's the final protester. When I go into that conversation, or when the NYPD goes into a conversation with the group that's there, the first immediate question is, you've got a criminal event. You've got to potentially talk to them about what they were thinking about going into this. But my first question would be, are you part of a group that's planning something broader across New York City? You can't guarantee that today or tomorrow or next week that they haven't thought about further protests that would disrupt life in New York City. So it's not just resolving what happened at Liberty Island. It's figuring out if something else is afoot here.
Understood.